What's the deal, guys? Mi gente, ¿cómo están? Me llamo Leo, so the flyer. What's up? We're back at it again. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the language of destination test that I went through for my airlines. We want to get right into it, right? I still have the next 5 questions on my top 10 interview questions and answers, okay? I did not forget about you guys. Entonces, let's talk about it, right? So basically I want to talk about what my language of destination test was about. What I had to go through. It was very quick and very simple. This might be a quick video. The next video will be the next 5 questions from my top 10 interview answers and questions. As you guys can see, your boy is growing a little facial hair, a little scruff. Before I had to shave it all off for my job, I want to do one last hurrah. I'm growing the curly Q's out. I had them for a little while, and then I obviously had to shave them because you want to be clean shaven when you go to your interview, to your face-to-face. Cool, word, let's do it. Vamos, nosotros hacerlo. I'll be going back and forth from English and Spanish maybe. I'll try to put the enable translation on the bottom of this video. Definitely guys, if you are a language of destination applicant, understand that they are going to test you on your proficiency in said language. Entonces, yo hablo español. Bueno, lo hablo más o menos dominicano, pero sé cómo conversar en la idioma. In other words, I speak Spanish, Dominican Spanish, but I do know how to hold a conversation. So the proficiency test, I wouldn't say it's necessarily that you have to be the A+, perfect grammar type of person. I personally don't know if I have passed the test yet. They will let me know once I go into training. Sometime in February. They'll let me know if I passed or not. I think I did very well, but I'm just here to give you guys what to expect in the test, okay? So basically, really quick, after receiving my face-to-face, they put me in a separate room to do a phone conversation, and my language of destination was Spanish, if you guys can tell. They asked me questions on basically translation. Could I read? They handed me a piece of paper that had numbers of questions. So there were about 10 questions on each page. They gave me about 3 pages, and you can basically tell that they were going to ask you to either read or translate what questions were on the piece of paper. I assumed that because they gave me a piece of paper about it. The one thing I want to tell you guys is make sure you can read the language. You know, if you guys aren't fluent in the sense of reading and writing, it's going to be a bit difficult to pass this test. And like I said, I don't necessarily know if I passed or not, but I answered all the questions and I think I did very well. So the assessment, the proficiency assessment basically was the other person was speaking to me in Spanish, and they were having me answer, you know, normal questions, everyday questions. They want to ask you questions about normal day life. What do you think about our current status politically? And you have to respond in the language of your choice or your language. She went through with me, you know, kind of just having conversations. How you feel about explain to me the weather. Guys, you guys want to know aviation terms. So if you're a person like me that speaks your language at home, and let's say Spanish is my second language, English is my first, you want to know certain terms in aviation: plane, wheelchair, gate agent, seat, aisle, things that obviously have to do with the aviation field. She asked me, after we went through kind of like the greetings and hey, how are you, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo Leonabel. Oh, I just gave you guys my full name. By the way, my full name is Leon Abel, okay? I know it's weird. They hit me over the neck with it. I had to go through, and she asked me, what's the weather like today? And then she asked me, okay, so let's get started. Basically, what you're going to have to do, guys, is you're gonna be given questions, and immediately after those questions, she's gonna ask you to translate them, word for word, as best as you can remember them. You're only given 2 chances to have a question repeated. And I guess from then on, you'd lose points on this system that they have, I guess. She'll tell you to translate, act as if you're on the PA system and the pilot tells you that there is a medical emergency and you guys have to stop in New York, but that you'll be taking off shortly. If you have any questions, please come to me and I will try my best to answer them. And then you have to translate it. You have to translate what I just said into whatever language it is. These are examples, right? Another thing that she asked me was, explain to an adult, then explain to a child that their wheelchair will be ready at the gate, so do not worry. And so they made me translate this directly into Spanish for an adult, and then they wanted to see how I would translate it for a child. Now that was one of the questions that I was asked. It was a bit difficult for me because it's hard to differentiate how you would speak to an adult as a child, as to a child. Another thing would be that they may ask you, a lot of this is translations, so they may ask you, explain to the lady, and this obviously is a conversation that she's talking to you in the language that you're in. So if it's French, she's asking you in French, she's speaking to you in French. If it's Italian, she's speaking to you in Italian. If it's Greek, she's speaking to you in Greek. Oh, sorry. So she's asking you, please explain to a lady that her child keeps playing in the aisles and it's a safety hazard for them to be playing in the aisles, to please have the child sit. Or another question would be, 2 gentlemen are having an issue with seating arrangements. Explain to one gentleman that you would do anything possible to possibly move to a different location. She's probing you, and then while you're answering these questions in the language of destination, she's gonna throw in little curves and be like, okay, what if he says this? Okay, what if he says that? So guys, basically what I'm trying to say is, please make sure that you are proficient enough in your language to where you won't make a fool of yourself. The one thing I will say is this: I was hired as a flight attendant. I got a CJO as a flight attendant. If I had failed, or if I did fail the language of destination test, do not think that they're gonna take you away from being a flight attendant. Congratulations, you got your CJO. You are a flight attendant, so you may not be a language of destination flight attendant, but you will still have your opportunity to be a regular flight attendant. Another thing is, remember they gave you this piece of paper, at least me, they gave me this piece of paper with all these different announcements on there in my language, in Spanish, and I had to read it for them. Just read through it. So you have to be able to read. They didn't ask me to write anything. They just want to know that if you're reading announcements, then you're reading announcements, you know. You understand, they may ask you, can you tell me in Spanish or in French or in Greek, what does this mean? What does that mean? And what does this word mean? Basically, I just wanted to give you guys a rundown of that. So in large part, it's translation. In large part is reading. They'll give you a sheet, at least for me, and I had to read what was going on in there. Other than that, no, that's it, So I wanted to give you guys a quick little overview of what that proficiency test was about. Nothing too crazy. De lo mío, gracias por verme, gracias por venir a la página. Please like, subscribe, comment. If you guys have any questions, as always, you can find me on Instagram at Sol the Architect. You can find me on Snapchat at Sol the Architect. And if it's just questions related to flight attendant stuff, soltheflyer@gmail.com. All right? Peace, love, prosperity. It's your boy. By the way, Daniel Caesar playing in the background. Get to know him. As always, it's been a pleasure. My next video, I promise you guys, will be the next 5 questions for my top 10 answers and questions for interviews. Peace, my people.